Carlos Lehder, the man who built an empire of islands and airplanes. Carlos Enrique Lehder Rivas was born on September 7, 1949, in Armenia, Colombia, into a family of German origin, marked by discipline and ambition. From a very young age, Lehder showed a peculiar blend of strategic intelligence and natural rebelliousness. No authority could contain his energy, and no law existed that he was not willing to challenge, always with a calculating gaze, like someone measuring each move before placing a piece on a complex board only he seemed able to understand. His childhood, shaped by strict family rules and the slow rhythm of a small city, taught him early that the world rewards those who dare and punishes those who hesitate, lessons that carved themselves deeply into his character. As a teenager, Lehder began involving himself in small illicit activities in Medellín, exploring smuggling routes and learning that mobility, discretion, and audacity were essential for survival. Yet his ambition could not be confined to small-scale risk or informal ventures. He dreamed of a personal empire, one that would allow him to control territories, routes, and resources. He soon discovered that the emerging, highly profitable drug trade offered exactly such a path. Every move was calculated, every ally carefully selected, and every enemy analyzed down to the smallest weakness. In the 1970s, Lehder shifted his attention to the United States, where the increasing demand for cocaine and the difficulty faced by federal authorities in controlling trafficking created fertile ground for someone capable of operating with intelligence and boldness. Lehder did not just transport drugs, he innovated smuggling logistics. He became a pioneer in the use of small aircraft, private airstrips, and tiny Caribbean islands as strategic points for moving his product, creating a system that resembled an invisible army capable of challenging even the strictest American law enforcement. His rise was meteoric. Lehder co-founded the Medellín Cartel alongside figures such as Pablo Escobar and the Ochoa brothers, becoming the mastermind behind some of the most daring and efficient drug trafficking routes in the world. His vision was militaristic, precise, and cold. Every plane, every island, and every intermediary was under his strict control, and the discipline he demanded from his collaborators was so rigid that few dared challenge him. His name became synonymous with criminal innovation but also with ruthlessness. Any threat to his empire was met with calculated violence and, when necessary, overwhelming intimidation. Unlike other traffickers, Lehder had a particular obsession: absolute power and public notoriety. He did not want to operate from the shadows. He sought fame, influence, and recognition, even attempting to involve himself in U.S. politics in an effort to influence legislation that would protect his business. His audacity exceeded legal and moral boundaries, his plans were continental in scope, and his personal security depended on an intimate knowledge of his environment and a justified paranoia, for any wrong step could mean death. The peak of Lehder's career was marked by a mixture of luxury and brutality. His private Caribbean islands served both as refuge and as operational bases. His smuggling flights were as precise as Swiss watches. His allies were loyal only to a point, for betrayal was a constant shadow. Still, his unrestrained ambition planted the seeds of his downfall. In 1987, he was captured in Colombia and extradited to the United States, where a judicial system unwilling to negotiate sentenced him to lengthy prison terms for drug trafficking, murder, and conspiracy. His empire collapsed, but his legend lived on, etched into the studies of those who analyze drug trafficking and human audacity. The story of Carlos Lehder is also the story of an era, Colombia and the United States during the 1970s and 1980s, when inequality, ambition, and prohibition created the perfect breeding ground for clandestine empires. His life illustrates how a man with vision, determination, and boldness can build and destroy at the same time, how organized crime can become a twisted form of innovation applied to illegality, and how notoriety can serve both as a weapon and as a prison. Unlike other criminals who avoided the spotlight, Lehder sought attention. He did not want to disappear but to be remembered as the architect of illegal routes, islands, and flights that proved that absolute control could be achieved even in hostile environments. His story invites reflection on the fine line between intelligence and madness, between boldness and obsession, and on how power can be shaped through ideas, fear, and strategic vision. At the end of his life, still behind bars, Carlos Lehder became a myth, a figure representing the intersection of ingenuity, ambition, and violence. An example of how a human being can leave an indelible mark, for better or for worse, on the history of crime and collective memory. His name continues to evoke audacity, meticulous planning, and a relentless capacity to defy the law, reminding us that greatness, even in its darkest form, relies on intelligence, determination, and vision. Don't forget to like, share, and leave your comment. Write who you want to see in the next video. The next story could be your choice.